Welcome to Wild Turkey Science, a podcast made possible by Turkeys for Tomorrow. I'm Dr. Marcus Lashley, Professor of Wildlife Ecology at the University of Florida.
And I'm Dr. Will Goolsby, Professor of Wildlife Ecology and Management at Auburn University. We're both lifelong hunters and devoted scientists who are passionate about hunting, managing, and researching wild turkeys.
In this podcast, we'll explore turkey research, speak to the experts in the field, and address the difficult questions related to wild turkey ecology and management.
Our goal
is to serve as your connection to wild turkey science. And we're back. It's good to see you, Will.
It's good to see you too, Marcus.
Yeah. You know what? It dawned on me that turkeys actually aren't doing anything right now. So they're probably hunkered down in the deepest, darkest place they can find because, man, it's been hot, hasn't it?
It's definitely been hot. I feel like the end of July it was worse, but because we've been having some days. I remember I got all excited on Sunday. I remember after we ate dinner because I told my wife, I've got like one of those little weather stations, It's got like a little, the outside sensor, and then it tells you like the temperature and humidity. I've got it in my kitchen. And I was like, on Sunday evening, I was like, it's only 88 degrees and 50% relative humidity. We ought to go outside. I was like, let's go sit outside.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean,
what do you think turkeys are doing?
I wish it was 68, with 50%, but
I mean, even like feeding around.
Yeah.
It's got to be hard.
It's got to be. I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to watch turkeys a lot this time of year, but I have with chickens, and having free range chickens, and you can see how they pant, if they get out in the sunshine in the middle of the day this time of year. Fun fact,
when we catch turkeys in South Florida in the dead of winter, they are most of the time panting.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like right on that threshold where it's too hot for them to have that stress.
I mean, everything in Florida is panting all the time.
I forgot who it was the other day.
For the heat or some other reason, who knows?
I forgot who it was off the top of my head, but somebody the other day walked by me. I was like, "Oh, did you go for a run?" And he's like, "No, I just walked. I just walked outside."
You really said that to him?
Yeah. I mean, they were really sweaty, so it looked like they had been working out.
Yeah.
And they were just passing by, and we were, just kind of exchanging words. And I was like, "Oh, have you been working out?" "No, I just went walking."
Oh my word! So, yeah, you didn't put your foot in your mouth quite that bad.
No, and it was all in good fun.
Yeah, that's right. So, speaking of, hoping for cooler weather's starting to change. I know kind of one of the things that we wanted to get done today was to share some of the topics that we had upcoming, and maybe there'll be some time for listener feedback on those topics, or maybe they'll suggest some additional new ones that we hadn't even thought of.
Yeah, I think that is a good idea. We're, like we've said numerous times, people are probably tired of hearing it. We are trying to address things that people care about. And there are a few topics that come up regularly that some of them we still haven't even touched.
Mm-hmm.
So, the one that I'm thinking of specifically is people keep asking us about cows.
Yeah.
Like grazing, how does grazing affect it? Can we, how do we use that habitat management tool for turkeys? People see tons of turkeys on places that have cows.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of work with cattle grazing and interacting with fire regimes and how that could affect turkeys. So that's a topic that I think we should try to address soon. And we really haven't touched it.
Yeah. Yep. Because we don't know anything about it hardly.
Yeah.
I don't. I'll speak for myself then. I don't know that much about it.
I think relative to the people that know a lot about it, we don't know anything about it.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of. And, I know some basics related to, how cows are a source of, soil disturbance and, how you can use them to remove, dead vegetative material and, open it back. Like I know all those general things and I'm familiar with the general concept of patch burn grazing, but I've never done any of it. So I don't feel qualified to really, speak to it.
Yeah, it hasn't been the focus of either of our research or extension programs. I'm kind of like you. It's been more adjacent. I know people that work on that quite a bit, and I've participated in some levels of that kind of work. And I grew up on a piece of property that had cows on it, and I've worked cattle. It was my job during my teens. I worked on a farm that part of the operation was focused on cattle. So I have some background with it, but I really want somebody that has focused their program on it. Come on and, talk about it and how it's difficult to find that person that also is passionate and really knowledgeable about turkeys too.
Yeah.
So
I'm kind of coming from that same background. So I lived on a working Angus farm for several years, but it was like there was never any integration of the beef operation and the wildlife management on the property, right? So if it was inside the fence, it was cattle only. If it was outside the fence, it was mostly deer and turkeys only. So
yeah. So I think that would be a good topic. Of course, folks out there have some thoughts on that, and I'm sure some will share it, and we welcome it.
Yeah.
Bring it on. You want to talk about another topic? What else?
Yeah, sure. So let me pull it up.
Oh, you got your notes?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
This is a classic distinction between our demeanor and styles right here.
So yeah, another topic, and this one is probably going to be coming to you sooner rather than later, especially given the time of the year that we're in right now, but it's food plotting for turkeys.
Yes, I'm getting so many questions about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that you can go to our YouTube channel and kind of see what I get lots of questions about because every time we sort of hit this critical thing, but same with the podcast, I guess.
Right.
I get so many questions, especially about, I'd say the first week of September, second week of September, people really change focus to their fall food plots. And a lot of people are asking questions now about how can they change things? What should they do to make it better for turkeys?
We talk about food plots off and on a good bit, I think, on this show. But a lot of times we're kind of just talking about the basics. We're talking about clover cereal grain mixes or perennial clovers, how we can use those for turkeys and how we might manage them if we're trying to, have them serve as dual purpose deer attraction, deer nutrition, and turkey brooding, which I guess that would be 3-purpose, not 2-purpose. But, so we talk about all that, but I think what we have envisioned for this episode is to branch out and go into, diversify in terms of some various different blends that you might try to accomplish different objectives and things like that.
Yeah. That is a timely episode, I suspect, based on the current interest that we're getting, both of us. That's going to be a popular idea, and I suspect the feedback is going to reflect that.
I would think so too.
So, another one. It's sort of out of place in comparison to those. What? Why'd you give me that look?
I'm just waiting.
In anticipation. You know what's coming.
I do, but I'm... I'm trying to anticipate what you're going to say about it.
Well, there is a really strong interest in predator communities and how they're influencing turkeys. And we've covered that ad nauseum before in various ways with various people. And one thing that keeps coming up, and I think it's a relevant conversation, is what about coyotes? should we be worried about coyotes? How are they influencing turkeys? I think a deep dive on that. I've done that before on social media, but I think that would be a really fun episode for us to really focus on coyotes and how much they eat turkeys. How are they influencing turkeys? What do we know about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be a good one. I mean, we could talk some too about, how the timelines for turkey declines and how closely are they associated with arrival of coyotes, especially, in the eastern part of the United States.
Yeah, I think it is a relevant discussion. And, I didn't want this one to completely be absent of any information that people might learn from. But, one way to think about it, we talk about the habitat problem magnifying the predator problem.
Right.
Right. So in other words, if you have poor habitat, turkeys are more vulnerable to predators and then they get eaten more. But that's not a one-way street. So in other words, hen nesting in a really depauperate plant community where they're really exposed, they're probably fine if there's nothing to eat them.
Yeah, it just so happens that the same places that you're not likely to find many turkeys, you're probably not likely to find many predators either.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I shouldn't make that such an absolute statement.
Definitely shouldn't be absolute.
Yeah, because I'm already thinking, my brain's already coming up with caveats. But
so my point is, introducing a predator into the mix could magnify habitat problems.
Yes,
it's not just that habitat problems magnify predator effects. It goes both ways. And while we've talked about this with poults at that life stage, it may not matter if there's anything to eat the poult. If you have poor habitat, they're going to die from another reason anyway.
That's right.
But an adult may not.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I think that will be a fun episode to go through. And it's definitely going to challenge our audience on both sides of that conversation, because that is probably, it's one of the most, if not the most divisive topic that we cover.
And I think that one of the places that will probably end up, just because it's almost impossible not to, is talking about removal and how successful that is.
Yeah.
And
I think we have to end up in that space.
And
that's where it really gets heated.
Yeah, and we've never talked. So my PhD research, focused directly on coyote removal and how that changes coyote abundance. So that data will help speak directly to the topic and help listeners understand, it's not just as simple as, we remove 3 and we save X number of turkeys. It's a very complicated dynamic.
Yeah. No, I think that's going to be a popular one.
Mm-hmm. So what else did we have on that list? We wanted to try to get Dr. Harper back on here sometime before too long. I know that you've been on Spencer Marshall's committee, right? His graduate research committee. So both Spencer and Marshall have been working on this fire season study that Craig is the principal investigator on. They just finished their master's projects collecting that data, and they're finishing up, or at least I know one of them is finishing up right now.
Yeah, is Jake?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's going to be done early this fall.
I think they're on a similar. So Spencer still, he's gotten his thesis together and everything, but hasn't defended it yet.
But anyways, the point is, it's one of the most complete data sets on measuring the responses of burning during different seasons, the responses of plants to burning during different seasons. The other thing that's really powerful about that study is they had cameras in all the different burn units, and so we can see how turkeys use areas that are burned during different times of the year, and what that interaction is like. So I think that'll be a really good episode.
I agree. That's
and who doesn't love when Craig Harper comes on?
Yeah. Yeah, he's always fun to talk to and always learn a ton every time.
Right. So, the other thing that's coming up?
September.
So
October?
this week that we're recording, we released our 92nd episode.
Isn't that something?
So 2 months will be on episode number 100.
In 2 months. So what is that? End of October?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. End of October, we're going to hit 100.
So I'm thinking we need to do something special.
I agree. We got to do something really special. So what is that going to be? I think our listener support has just been absolutely phenomenal. It's kept us motivated to keep doing this. I mean, several people have said it in their comments to us. This is a lot of work, and it's, distracting us from other things that we have going on.
I don't know if we weren't getting that feedback, I don't know that we'd still be doing this.
No, it's a critical element. People value what's going on. They want us to continue, and they keep giving us that feedback. And if you're one of those people, we really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I was going to say is let's do something special and give it away.
Yeah.
Like we've been doing with these other things. Like, let's show people that we really value the input and, value our listeners. We would not be going through the amount of effort and time it takes to put together a lot of these episodes if it was not for that feedback that this is ultimately affecting how people manage turkeys and hopefully benefiting turkeys as an end outcome.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Because anytime, I know for me, like if doubts start to creep in about, man, my research program, my teaching program, all that would be so much easier without having to squeeze these in every week. But it's like inevitably every time I start allowing myself to think down that path, I'll get an email or I'll get a private message or something else. And somebody will be like, thank y'all so much for what you do. Like I had this win or that win or, something else. And, I can't stop. Like when I hear that, I can't stop,
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, the testimonials and the hey, look what I'm doing now, like all those things. It really is, refilling the tank.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe like a signed turkey call or something. We could do that.
Yeah. Oh, maybe people could let us know out there. Is that something you would want?
Yeah, like a signed pot call.
Old Lashley Goolsby signatures on it.
I don't know if you want me touching it. It may not call a turkey in after that point.
Maybe we could get somebody else to sign it that they'd value more, like one of our guests or something that are more famous.
There you go.
Who would you like us to get to sign it?
We want a Wild Turkey Science podcast call, but we want Craig Harper to sign it.
Oh man, I think we'd probably just hang it up. Is that where that's where we've ended up?
But that's exciting, man.
And I don't know. I just didn't know if we'd get to 100. That's so many.
I never thought we would.
That's crazy.
I guess we never really had an end date in sight. We just knew that there was information that we needed to get out there, and it's.
Well, I remember us having the conversations like, let's really stack up this thing front heavy because it, who knows how long we're going to keep this going.
And we did a great job of that. I think I think so. What did we have, like 3 months worth of episodes when we first launched?
Yeah,
and then as soon as we exhausted those, we started recording every week, and we haven't looked back.
Yeah, our original plan was to stockpile them, basically set aside time, and we're trying to get back to that model, FYI, because it's a much more sustainable thing in the long term. But yeah, that's exactly what happened. So for a year and a half, we have recorded most of the episodes the week before it was launched.
all I can think right now is that there's so many listeners that are out there probably thinking, well, that makes sense.
You should give us a 5-star rating for our dedication, okay? Not for the quality.
Well, I guess I might as well layer
to it for like 500 days, you know.
I might as well layer onto this since we're already, divulging all these trade secrets. these insights.
We don't know what's in the sausage.
Well, what I was going to say is there's some weeks where our producer, Charlotte, reaches out on Thursday and she's like, hey, guys, you can record something for me to edit this week.
I just got to go live on Monday.
I'm sure she appreciates that.
Oh, I'm sure. There's been a few times where we forget, oh, you're going to be gone all next week.
Yeah.
And then we're like, well, when can you record? It's like, well, I have a 1-hour window on Thursday evening. Can you do that?
Yeah, Marcus will drop me a text and be like, hey, man, you got a minute to record? I'll be like, nah, man, I'm in the Dominican Republic. No, I've never been to the Dominican Republic, but I don't know why that example popped into my head. But
like, what are you doing? Shooting doves or something? What's going on?
Do doves make it down there? Is there good dove hunting in the Dominican?
I don't know, man.
Oh, okay.
The other thing that I definitely have appreciated is how difficult the podcasting thing is and how much the practice has helped.
Yeah.
Because it's actually fairly difficult to keep a coherent conversation going on these things. And early on, like years and years ago, I really struggled with that, and I still see it.
Yeah,
pretty commonly with folks that are earlier in their career, in particular. Yeah. Like there's pressure.
Me. I haven't figured it out yet.
Well, I wasn't going to go there, but since you did, it's hard to keep it going. So there's something to be said for us being able to pull something off last minute that everybody listening doesn't hate.
As far as we know.
Yeah. Well, they didn't write that they did in their review anyway. So
they're just all leaving us 5-star reviews because they get a lot of entertainment value of laughing at us. And so they're just trying to egg us on to continue.
Oh, man. How horrible would that be?
So trying to get us back reined in a little bit on topic. We talked about a few topics coming up, and that'll bring us pretty close, to October. And we even mentioned the 100th episode is going to occur in October. So we got a theme for that month, too, this year.
Oh, yes. What is that theme?
Oaktober.
Oaktober.
See what we did there?
What a good name.
I mean, I think it was...
Can we call it Oktoberfest?
I think it was... I think it was Bobby or Dudley, one of the Gamekeepers guys that mentioned that when we went on their show during October last year, because we went on there to talk about managing oaks for wildlife.
That I remember us joking about it, but I could not remember when, like if it was on this show or on a different show or what. Yeah. But that does ring a bell. I think that's where it came up.
So we did a version of this last year, but it's going to be slightly different this year because, number one, we're covering some new topics. But even on the stuff where we're going to rehash some ground of what we covered last year, I'm going to try to bring in some new literature on that as well. But
I have some as well. Some new literature.
Yeah, so that's going to be a completely new conversation, sharing your new data. Yeah, so I've got...
Well, I was even talking separate. So I have one of the studies that I've teased about. We have published some of the work, and I think it's going to be really relevant. But even separate from that, in a lot of our oak work that's ongoing, I've even ended up in a new literature space that I didn't know about, and it's rapidly growing.
Yeah.
There were dozens of papers in the last year on oak ecology.
Right. So if you didn't catch that series last year, I'm sure we'll review a lot of the key points. But then if you did catch it, we're going to be adding a lot of new information.
Yeah, some of it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, so starting out, more broad and then narrowing down into the more technical, we're thinking of covering like the importance of oaks to turkeys, how often do they use them, thinking about them as a food source and a cover source and a roost site, talking about your new oak mass study and looking at differences in species and mass production and timing of mass production, timing of rain, all that kind of stuff. Managing oaks for turkeys to accomplish multiple objectives. And then one that I'm really excited about, and we've already discussed some good ideas for maybe bringing on a guest to discuss this one, is planting and caring for mass trees like oaks.
Yeah. Like which species do you select? How do you care for them? How do turkeys use them? When are turkeys using them? I think a topic like that, man, I get a lot of questions like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've done a little bit of that type of stuff, as far as the outplanting, but not a lot. So it's not something that I'm intimately familiar with. And, most of my work has all been just like working with what we have, with the native species that are already present as opposed to planting. But I know that can be a critical, very important tool on certain properties.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And certainly, even if it's not for the explicit purpose of improving nutrition or anything, it still can be very attractive.
Absolutely.
Right. And, that's part of what we're doing here. Like, we want the property to be attractive to the wildlife that we're interested in also. So even if it isn't making nesting success increase or whatever, it still might have some value.
And I feel another thing that's important about it too is I think all of us, especially if you're listening to this show, you probably like watching stuff grow,
Oh yeah.
And there's something
like innate for me. Like I need to be a farmer.
There's something about growing trees. I really like watching trees grow that I've planted.
You should look in my greenhouse right now. I'm always growing in, a dozen species of trees at all times.
Yeah.
My wife hates it. Because I'm like bringing seeds home all the time, and I'm just like, oh, I wonder if I can grow this oak species. I wonder if I can grow that chestnut,
How gratifying is it, though, because like I collected some acorns last year from campus, and I was able to germinate those. So now I've got like some of the more important trees and the more historic trees from around campus represented in my garden.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And being able to germinate those, and especially like red oaks when you're, chilling through the fridge and then like seeing that thing sprout, I don't know. It's something special about it.
Yeah, I've really gotten onto a chestnut kick. For some reason, that one gratifies me more than anything. I really like it. And maybe it's the cold stratification process that I really like, because it's what you're saying. And the whole process, and then it's really difficult to protect them because the black rats really love them.
Yeah,
and, it's a constant problem. But the other one that I have done is very similar to what you just said. We have 2 chinquapin on campus here at UF, and I have collected seeds off of it and grown those, and I just really found that delightful.
Yeah,
like it was just intrinsically. It definitely, I don't know. It just made me feel good.
There's something special. Well, I mean, the weirdest thing is the first time you cold stratify something, and then it germinates, because you've been seeing that little Ziploc sitting in the back of your fridge for months on end.
Yeah,
and you're thinking the first time you do it, you think there's no way.
Yeah,
this ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
And then when it does, it's like a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
really feels like that.
I really like it.
And I think what all that translates into, most importantly, is it increases people's enjoyment of their property. And when people enjoy their properties more, they spend more time there. And when they spend more time there, if they're informed on how to best allocate their time most efficiently, they're going to manage it better.
I agree. That's a great
enjoy it better
way to put it.
Yeah.
Even that is something that happens with me. Like I like to grow things and then plant them on my place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because I think it's going to make some big difference, but I enjoy it, and I'm enjoying being on the property and doing that.
The more you write your signature on a place, I think the more intuitively, right? The more connection and attachment you have to it.
Yeah.
And the more that improves, the more you enjoy spending time there, and the better you're going to take care of it.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really strong point. So Oaktober.
I'm excited.
Man, that's a good one.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, so this is an exciting time of year for a lot of reasons. You know, we're getting that humidity drop, that temperature drop.
Yeah.
Hunting seasons are coming back around the corner.
Some doves flying around.
There's some doves flying around. I just happen to have a 6-month-old lab pup that's getting really good at retrieving.
Hey.
Yep.
Man, the timing. That's perfect.
I know. She's getting good, man. And we've got the 100th episode on the horizon and October.
Yeah.
Exciting times,
Oaktober.
Man. Oaktober. What did I say?
You said October.
Oh, my bad.
You forgot the A in there. And the K.
I'm a professor, not a marketing genius, Marcus.
Well, you could have fooled me. I'll let you decide on which of those you could have fooled me on. Yeah.
What else?
Well, that's all we got, folks. If you have ideas for other episodes, we'd really appreciate it.
Well, and the other thing too, I guess, you know, we maybe should have introduced this as part of the discussion earlier on, but I think kind of the problem we're facing right now is we're getting to this point where we've talked about a lot of the major things that people are interested in related to turkeys.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, talking to other people that have been doing this longer than we have, they tell us it's like this unavoidable that you're going to loop back to certain topics, right? Because you always have new listeners coming in, and they're not going back to 2 years ago to listen to the episode that you did on the topic that they were interested in.
Well, I think that's something for us to keep in mind too, that our audience is probably double what it was last year at that time.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we're going to continue to grow, we need to continue to come back to some of these topics. The other thing, like with the oaks, we have a whole suite of new information now to share.
That's right.
Like that
and with
segment,
fire.
I mean, we could have Oaktober every year and probably have new content that's relevant to land management and turkey management every year. You know, we're going to touch on some of the same things, but, you know, we certainly can come back to that topic and not exhaust it.
Absolutely.
So,
one thing that I'm interested in hearing from folks on is if there's any other how-to stuff. Like,
what do you want to know how to do?
Yeah, like we talked about that one episode. Like I think we're gonna have a lot of how-to stuff in the food plot episode, and we're gonna have a lot of how-to stuff in the Oaktober series. But what else do you want to hear about?
Yeah, I really hope folks respond and let us know. Those are the things that are most gratifying to me, is having, you know, 10 or 12 people reach out and say, hey, I really would like to know what to do in this situation, or can you guys talk about this because I'm not sure if I'm with you yet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, you know, then us being able to really cover a topic in depth. And sometimes it makes us realize, oh, we actually haven't exhausted that topic.
That's true.
Right? We just did that recently.
Yeah.
Where we felt like we had done it. I think like the predator, the coyote focused episode, that's another one. Like we kind of felt like we had dipped into that pot a few times too many, and we're still getting people asking for that content. So,
you know, the only request that I get, people want more episodes on why corn is bad. That's all they ask me for ever.
Well, I did just get one, and I haven't had a chance to respond yet, and maybe our audience can respond to this, but one person, he said that he appreciated us talking about that issue and trying to be, you know, as objective and forthcoming with information as we could be, but he'd like to hear us talk about what are some alternatives, like if we switch to if we switch from corn to sorghum, for example, like some of the issues associated with feeding might be alleviated by doing so. So I think we've got some information like that we could cover if folks want us to.
Yeah. That all sounds good. You got anything else?
Well, I do have something to give away.
Nice.
Yeah.
What you got?
Did you pick a listener?
Nope, that's all on you, buddy.
I didn't either.
And the reason I don't like it is because the reviews
the reason you don't like what?
Having to pick one is the reviews are not like the way that we access them. They're not in a good format to make it easy to randomly select someone. So it's kind of a pain.
Yeah, maybe we can come up with a better way to do it other than us just aimlessly searching through it on the air live. Charlotte actually mentioned to me today that she was like, yeah, like, I think everybody knows that you're just like cycling through on the air. And I was like, well, I don't think we've really tried to hide that, have we?
No, I haven't tried to be dishonest about what I'm doing.
So, maybe we can come up with a better. I don't know if you can download them somehow, or maybe
the one thing I can say about my process is I was not cherry picking someone.
Yeah,
it was not.
Mine has been completely randomized in the sense that I have no idea who's getting selected.
Yeah, and I haven't known any of the people that it went to. Yeah, as far as I know, because most people use handles. So
yeah. Well, I do have one selected here, so I guess we can move on. I guess we've kind of started the tradition that we read off the.
I did that. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you.
I think you started it off because the last 2 or 3 or 4, you have been the one that selected someone and gave it away, and you've done that on each one. So I'll do that this time.
I've been the only one around here carrying my weight.
We are going back to.
You didn't hear that, did you?
No, I didn't. I just completely ignored you. What'd you say?
That's fine.
No, come on.
Yeah, it was a bad joke about carrying my weight. And you're not. Anyway.
Yeah.
On the giveaways.
I'm just waiting on you to carry some weight.
You're just down there trying to change the world with all that funding we just talked about in last week's episode.
Yeah, well, I'm doing my best, okay?
You're doing a great job.
I'm doing my best. So, we have another item to give away this week, and this one I think is a really cool one, and it's also, kind of a special one for me because one of the first companies that kind of stepped up to the plate to help us is called Honeycomb Gang Paws.
Mm-hmm.
They've, small company in Florida, and they really wanted to help the turkey program, and they did a fundraiser last year where they had
that was like last summer. We were only a few months in, I think.
Yeah. And even, it was definitely early on in the podcast, and I just really appreciate, they're a small company, but, really convicted to give back. And here they're doing it again, where they want to help us and help us be successful because they appreciate that we're trying to give back to turkeys, and that's what they're trying to do, and I appreciate that. And even from that, very early on, they've been strong supporting. And last year, they did a special on calls, and part of the proceeds they donated to my lab to help support the podcast and research efforts related to turkeys. So I really appreciate that. So this week, they have agreed to give a listener a pot call, and I think this one is a copper pot call.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I have seen the ones he makes, and they look good.
You don't have it in hand, do you?
No, I don't. He's going to send it directly to the listener. So
yeah,
if you win this, reach out to us, and we'll get you connected with Daniel Wentworth, who is owns that company, and we'll get you this pot call. But the person who I selected is, let's see, Sean Peterson 79. You don't know Sean Peterson, do you?
I don't think so. Oh, that's a cool looking call.
Oh, did you find it online?
Well, I just went to Honeycomb Custom Calls, and I found that they make a signature copper friction call.
Yeah, I think that's...
I think that's the one. God, that's pretty.
It's a good-looking call, man.
And they've got
I saw him at the convention, and he had several of his things that he had made, and man, they're a good-looking call.
Yeah, I'm looking at him, and it looks like he's got several different varieties, and some of them are even like the pot is made out of like he's done some epoxy resin with the wood, and
it's good-looking stuff, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So let's read off this review. What was it? Sean Peterson 79. Sean Peterson 79. So reach out to us. He said that the headline is, "This is worth the listen." These guys are really laying out the science and not just the opinion of what's going on with the turkey population and what it takes to get it back on track. And then actually we addressed his question on there, but I don't know if we did because we read what he wrote, but he wants to know what we can do to better manage turkeys with small acreages, like 20 to 40 acres in his case.
Yeah.
So that's another good episode idea. What do we do on small properties? Yeah. Which I think we've talked about to some degree, but maybe not completely focused on it like what he's asking for.
Right.
So thanks for the feedback and the rating. We really appreciate it. And just reach out to us, when you hear this, and we'll make sure to get you that call.
Cool.
So good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Good looking call.
Wish it was mine.
Well, we might be able to arrange something, Will. Next time I'm going to select your rating. Yeah. So it is semi-random. I had no idea, and I'm pretty sure that I've read every rating of the podcast at some point in the past. I usually check on it every once in a while, mainly because you have stuff like that where you get a little bit of positive feedback, and that's nice. But also the questions, when people put them in there, are helpful. But I don't remember reading that one, so I randomly selected it, and then I didn't know what it was going to say, so it's a little bit risky, I guess.
I just had a random thought. Do you think we should set up a Turkey Science email address? Like just set up a Turkey Science Gmail that people could send questions into one place? You think that would make things easier?
If people out there think they would rather have that, like we could have wildturkeyscience@gmail.com or something.
Well, now you said it, and somebody else is going to go register it and hold it hostage and make us pay them.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll just do Wild Turkey Science 101.
Then we'll get emails from people wanting bourbon.
Wild Turkey Science Longbeard.
I'll think about it. Yeah, if y'all think that's something that would be useful, let us know.
Yeah. Man, we've really asked him for a lot. Like this whole episode was basically like, can y'all help us do our job?
Did we though?
It kind of felt that way to me.
Well. I mean, we're asking them to do things for their own benefit, though, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Help us help you.
Exactly. Now that you put it that way. All right.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking with us. If you've been around for a long time, if you're a new listener, we hope you'll stick around and provide some feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah. Glad to have you here.
We have been enjoying it, and the feedback has just been tremendous, and I can't say that enough, that it's definitely refueling the tank.
And you'll learn more on most episodes. this is an exception.
All you learned is that we don't have our stuff together.
Well, I think people like that it's not overproduced, right?
Well, that
Maybe.
actually was part of the plan.
I like to tell myself that anyway.
Yeah. Well, part of it, we didn't want it. That was from the beginning. We didn't want it to be overproduced and scripted. We wanted it to be a conversation. It's just unfortunate that it's you and me.
Which I pushed back on really hard. But you made me scrap my notes, Marcus.
Yeah.
I'm still bitter about
notes
it.
to this one.
I'm still bitter.
See, you didn't completely lose that tendency. So it's good to have some balance.
So I'm getting yelled at right now, just to make sure we're clear, by a college professor for taking notes and bringing notes and being prepared.
I don't think I yelled. Did I yell?
All right. See you guys next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Wild Turkey Science is part of the Natural Resources University podcast network and is made possible by Turkeys for Tomorrow, a grassroots organization dedicated to the wild turkey. To learn more about TFT, check out turkeysfortomorrow.org.